Hi there, everybody. Welcome, and thanks for joining me on this short video. I want to talk to you about the real situation that gives rise to hiatal hernia. Now, for most of you, what I'm going to say is going to sound outrageous, but you have to understand something about modern medicine versus ancient medical systems. This is very, very important because nobody teaches this anywhere that I'm aware of. And you would have to have the kind of very strange journey through medicine that I've had to really understand this topic. It's a topic that I devoted a ton of attention to. I've written several books, articles, almost every aspect of my career had to do with understanding ancient medicine versus modern medicine and really getting a clear picture of what each one of them is good at. So what I'm going to tell you is going to sound outrageous at first, but once you understand why ancient medicine has a very interesting different angle and a very interesting complementary kind of perspective on health and illness, you'll know why what I'm telling you is actually very, very valuable for you to understand, especially when it comes to something like hiatal hernia. So first of all, what is hiatal hernia? When the stomach pushes through, you have a muscle that cuts across your abdomen here. It's a transverse muscle. It's the only transverse muscle in your whole body. It's called the diaphragm muscle. It's right below your heart, your lungs, right, and right above your organs and your stomach, your major abdominal organs, your liver, spleen, stomach, and intestines. Okay, and so this transverse muscle, the food tube, the esophagus, comes down here and then passes through the diaphragm, and that's where it connects to the stomach. A hiatal hernia is when the stomach is pushing upward through that muscle, the hole in the muscle where the food tube, the esophagus, connects to it, and the stomach pops out. So like, here's your diaphragm, and the stomach is pushing its way through, right? And the hiatal hernia part is when the stomach gets trapped, right, in that upper position where the top part of the stomach is poking through. It's very, very uncomfortable because this hole in the diaphragm muscle is small, right? The esophagus is only supposed to pass through that, and the esophagus is not very large in diameter. And so when the stomach pushes through, it causes all kinds of problems for food, the passage of food, acid, bile, right? All kinds of, usually people with hiatal hernia develop also very obvious signs of acid reflux and regurgitating half-digested food and acid and bile. It's very unpleasant, right? If you've had this experience or you're having it now, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Now, the thing about hiatal hernia is, why is the stomach pushing through the diaphragm muscle? Why is this happening? What is causing it to, like, what, gravity doesn't work inside your abdomen now? Like, why is the stomach going up instead of residing below the diaphragm muscle the way it's supposed to? And the answer is outrageous. Modern medicine doesn't really have very much to say about this, right? They're basically trying to get you to get surgery for your hiatal hernia. If you have hiatal hernia long enough, some doctor's going to tell you, hey, look, we can fix that surgically. Whether or not it's a good idea to get surgery for hiatal hernia never enters the discussion, right? Because remember, like, the basic model that we have in modern medicine is they make their money from pills and surgery. Now, that's not to say pills and surgery aren't useful and effective. Sometimes they are. Sometimes there is a reason to take a short-term medication that helps you get through a kind of emergency kind of situation, whether that's a pain pill or a steroid, whatever it is, right? It's not like there's no benefit and efficacy to the modern medical approach. Sometimes you need surgery. Sometimes, right, if your body's busted up, right, surgical techniques and procedures are just miraculous. If you think of how many millions of years people just died from every imaginable trauma, and now, like, it's pretty routine. They can just get you in surgery, right, save your life and all the rest. And some of the surgeries are just remarkable, right? Various things, right, to help with the joint problems and things like this. It gives people a new lease on life. So am I saying that all pills and surgery are bad? No. But with hiatal hernia, this idea that, number one, that you even should get surgery without trying to fix it on your own is a complete idiotic non-starter, right? The main thing you need to know is that most people don't need anything like surgery to fix a hiatal hernia. Why? Because you can make it go away on its own. And how do you do that? Well, first of all, you start with understanding what is causing this upward pressure. It's not that gravity doesn't work inside your internal organs and suddenly your stomach is floating upward. No, something's pushing it upward. So what is pushing it? Well, if you look below the stomach, what do we have, right? We have a liver, we have the the spleen on the left side, and then the intestines. And here we go. And I mentioned the liver and spleen because they're also related to the basic problem that gives rise to hiatal hernia. And that problem is, here's where we get into ancient medical thinking. In ancient medicine, it's very, very clear that the advantage to ancient medicine is that it teaches you how to understand the effects between organs. So like, you don't just, if you have a hiatal hernia, you don't just have a problem in your stomach. No. You have a problem that's manifesting with your stomach poking through your diaphragm muscle, but there's all kinds of other organ involvement. So for example, right, your liver and spleen are very closely tied together. They work as a team, as a unit. Now, when they work together, they work as a unit. When they break down, it's because one thing is happening in the liver, something else is happening in the spleen, and the two organs have stopped cooperating. They've stopped working together. And this gives rise to the main problem that causes hiatal hernia, which is referred to in ancient medicine as food stagnation. Now, it's exactly what it sounds like. It's a technical term because it implies that certain things are happening to cause food and waste to build up inside your intestines. Now, at some point, as food and waste fill up your abdomen is so full that it presses upward. It pushes the stomach, right? The stomach has all this buildup below, and suddenly, like, the stomach is rising up and up and up until it pops through the diaphragm muscle, and lo and behold, you're suffering from hiatal hernia with all the unpleasantness that goes along with that. And so this issue of food stagnation, we have to trace it back. It's not that food and waste started magically building up in your intestines. It's not that there's no cause for that. It has to do with what's happening in the liver, how that's affecting the spleen, and then how that results in food waste and another condition that I refer to as dampness, all start to accumulate in your intestines, pushing the stomach upward. It's very important to be clear on this mentally, because if you are clear on it, the solution for how we fix this is actually the easy part. So your liver is the main organ of metabolism. When your liver is functioning correctly, it's very, very closely tied to your appetite. Okay, obviously, if your liver is producing glucose for your muscles, well, your liver needs raw materials to do that. And those raw materials are called food. And so as you ingest food, the liver turns raw materials that you've taken in as food, as nourishment, and turns them into fuel for your body and brain. Okay, and the main fuel, we'll just focus on it this way. It's a simplified explanation, but it's also accurate to think of it this way, is glucose. Your liver has to transpose and transform all that food into glucose, okay? And that requires all the biochemical reactions required to produce glucose in the liver create heat. It's a chemical reaction that's taking place. It's a biochemical process that's taking place, and all of these interactions create heat in the liver. So you can think of the liver like a furnace, right? You shovel coal into the furnace, and the liver burns the coal, and you get this fuel for your body, right? And so the more fuel you're having to produce, right, the worse that heat becomes. When you have more heat in the liver, what that means is that your body's running hard. We call it, right, you're eating on the run, you're go, you're wolfing down meals, in no time flat, without really taking time to rest and digest after you eat, or even to, calm down while you're eating, and you're washing it down with a coffee or a double espresso, right, to get through the rest of your day. That's fine. You can do that for a little while you're young, but most people who develop hiatal hernia develop it in the second half of life. That's normal, because all chronic conditions develop in the second half of life more frequently than in the first. And the reason for that is because your body can no longer stand the kind of run and gun lifestyle that we've all become accustomed to. So all of the things that I'm describing here, we think of as normal living, right? But of course, your body isn't designed and was never evolved, right, to live according to the kind of fast pace, eat on the go, right, burn the candle at both ends kind of living that most people are used to. And so when your body is burning lots of fuel and the liver is overheating from all of this excess work, right, referred to in the vernacular as stress, right, when the body is in stress mode, You have a stress reaction going on in your body, and it's go, 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 go. And you're running on adrenaline, and your body's pushing, you're pushing yourself to keep going and get to work and get the kids to school and pay the mortgage. And right, the boss wants the project done quickly, and I gotta stay up late and get up early, right? And go and on and on and on, day after day, right? You're sending hunger signals to your stomach more and more frequently. It only makes sense, right? If your body's running harder, you need more raw materials to keep the fuel going, right? To keep your body going through that kind of stress. And so the more hunger signals you send, the more burden you place on, and this is the other part of the equation that is so important to understand, the spleen. So you're ingesting more food is going into the stomach more often. You may, in fact, also be tempted to overeat. You can look around you and say North America, right? There's all kinds of obesity everywhere you look. And so somebody's overeating somewhere. Okay. And so if you're overeating, if you're eating meals too close together, if you're eating too often, if you're eating too much food each time you sit down, that has a big consequence and burden that it places on the spleen. The spleen has to process that as well. Now, the spleen is in ancient medicine as well, but if you think of it in terms of modern medicine, biomedicine, the spleen is like a big gland, right? It's part of the immune system. It's the main organ tied to your immune function. So just like you have glands like your tonsils, you have glands here, right, that protect you from infection in your chest and all the rest. You have glands in your groin around your sexual organs. You have glands, the majority of your lymph glands, the majority of the lymph nodes that make up your immune system proper reside in your intestines, which makes sense, right? Because you have the most bacteria in your body is mostly in your intestines. You have about 100 trillion bacterium, all concentrated in your intestinal tract. And that bacteria is there to help break down food. And the more food you're putting into your digestive system, the more food that gets into your intestines, the more bacteria keeps growing and growing and growing. And the more bacteria that's multiplying and proliferating, the more burden you are placing on your spleen to keep those warring factions of different bacteria under control. So if you know anything about chronic digestive illness of any kind, right, one of the things that is almost guaranteed to be going on is that you have a big war going on inside your intestines. And slowly it starts to get out of control. And once it's out of control, right, your spleen is already well past the point of exhaustion. And so you develop symptoms of fatigue, you develop symptoms of dizziness, maybe when you stand up. You have teeth marks on the edge of the tongues, with teeth marks on the edge of your tongue, which relates to this condition I mentioned called dampness. When the food that you're putting in your stomach can no longer be processed properly and quickly enough by the spleen, which is too tired to keep doing its job and to keep up with all the work that is being demanded by your fast-paced run and gun, stress-filled lifestyle, right? This food goes out of the stomach partially digested, and it gets into your organs, gets into your intestines, and you build up this food stagnation. And that half-digested food is now growing bacteria. It's growing out of control. You get irritation, you get inflammatory kind of condition in your intestinal lining, what's referred to as inflammatory bowel disease or syndrome. You start getting symptoms of food sensitivities, right? You develop all manner of, right, what is broadly labeled as IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, where you have bloating and gas, right? That's the main symptom that you notice when you have lots and lots of food stagnating inside your intestines. Maybe diarrhea, maybe just loose stools, maybe even you develop enough heat in your intestines that you don't move your bowels every day. So your elimination is interrupted. And now maybe you do have bowel movement, but it's like every 3 days and it's explosive or something like this, right? Some kind of irregularity with your body's ability to assimilate what's in your intestines and to eliminate waste out of your intestines. As all of this waste builds up, it also triggers what's called dampness. And dampness is, broadly speaking, a buildup of fluids in the system. It doesn't just stay in your digestive tract. It also leaks into other parts of your body. If dampness goes to your joints, dampness is, broadly speaking, you can understand dampness and you notice dampness as mucus. So if you develop dampness, a damp condition, and it goes to your muscles and flesh, you have fibromyalgia. If you have a damp condition and it goes to your joints, you have rheumatoid arthritis, right? If you develop a damp condition and it's going up and it's clogging your head, you get muzzy head. You get that whole foggy head feeling where you can't quite think or concentrate, right? You can even get dampness that like comes out of your eyes, where you get like little you wake up and you have to clear a lot of mucus out of the corner of your eye, or you feel like there's something in your eye all the time. It can even clog your ears, right? Where you can't really hear well. And then like maybe your ear pops and you go, oh, look at that. I can hear again. It's like, yeah, that's dampness. That's clogging up the orifice to your ear. Obviously, the first place that you notice mucus is in the back of your throat. So you get that post-nasal thing. That's dampness. It's not coming from your nasal passages, which is what modern Western medicine would say about such a condition. It's not coming from your sinuses, even if it's stuck in your sinuses. It's coming from your digestive system. It's being produced down here in your abdomen, and it's filling up your intestines. And then the body is trying to put it different places and get rid of it. If you have productive cough, if you have mucus filling up your lungs, that's dampness. Okay. So now you have food stagnation, food and waste stagnating in your intestines, and mucus building up and filling up your body, almost like you're drowning in your own fluids at some point. And now all that pressure that's filling up the lower abdomen, and all the heat and all the work that your liver is doing, and all the dampness that's building up, your spleen is like a big sponge, right? And it's full of fluids, and it's all taking up space. And it puts this upward pressure on your stomach until the stomach pops through the diaphragm muscle. And now you're really in trouble, because it's very unpleasant to have a hiatal hernia. It makes it even hard to take a deep breath, right? There's all kinds of stuff going on in this midsection of your body, and none of it is good, right? All of it is very, very unpleasant. So how do you get rid of hiatal hernia? Well, the best way to get rid of hiatal hernia is to remove the obstacles that are causing this upward pressure. You remove the congestion from your lower abdomen, and the stomach will slip back down on its own. It will slip down through the diaphragm muscle, and the hiatal hernia will heal on its own, right? You don't have to do anything, but you do have to get your organs working together again. And this is something that modern medicine will not tell you anything about, because doctors have never been trained in any such approach. Doctors know nothing about getting your organs to work together again. What do you mean getting your organs to? Of course your organs are working together. No, actually, there's easy ways to recognize how your organs are going out of balance, right? There are symptoms. When your liver's overheating, the way I said, you tend to develop irritability. You fly off the handle quickly, or you may have emotional outbursts like anger or crying. Those would be the two obvious ones. It's difficult to swallow. You feel that feeling of like something stuck in your esophagus, like if you've ever taken a big tablespoon of peanut butter, right? Or you ate a piece of bread too fast or something, feel like it's stuck in your esophagus. Like you have that feeling all the time, right? Again, pain in the throat, sore throat, burning throat, rasping throat. Like, oh, why is my throat so painful today? What's going on? I said irritability, red eyes, all manner of emotional instability, right? Where you're up one moment, right? You're down the next, and right. So anxiety and depression very often tied to this issue of excess heat from your liver. But when heat really takes hold and heat is really out of control, you see it especially at night. So if you're waking up or you have trouble sleeping past like 2, 3 a.m., that's heat from your liver. That's liver heat that's causing that. The liver does its hardest work while you are asleep. And if the liver is working hard to rejuvenate your body in the nighttime hours, so you wake up rested and refueled, you're going to notice that. You're going to notice it pretty damn quick. And that the way that you notice that is you can't sleep. You can't sleep through the night, or you're not getting deep sleep, or your liver is so hot that it actually makes you pop awake, right? Around 1, 2, 3, 4 a.m., something like that. So the inability to sleep past a certain time is also rock solid evidence that you have too much excess heat in your liver. There's other signs and symptoms too, right? I said rapid hungering, that's more a sign of stomach heat, but all stomach heat is related to liver heat. So that's proof of liver heat. If you have dampness, I said post-nasal drip, you could have head fog, you could have joint pain, body pain, muscle aches, et cetera, et cetera. You could even have mucus in your stools, which means that a lot of mucus has gotten into the lower abdomen, which is typically where it likes to collect. This mucus, this dampness is very heavy, right? So there's a way to target all of these different kind of functional signs and symptoms that tells you what organ is suffering here, where's the problem. It's not going to be one organ. And this is a key to the thinking of, again, I said, my expertise is really in ancient medical systems. If you understand ancient medicine, the big advantage is if you have a chronic condition, you need a system that teaches you how to deal with multiple organ imbalances. If you want to fix something like hiatal hernia without taking pills, without going to a doctor, without all the shenanigans that modern medicine tries to put you through, only to find out that none of it worked, and you still have hiatal hernia. What you do is you get your organs working together again, and the situation causing the root cause of hiatal hernia goes away, and your hiatal hernia heals on its own. Now, obviously, I have a lot to say about this, and so I want to tell you about a little program I put together. It's called the Pivot Protocol. The Pivot is the name that I gave to this particular method, but actually, I didn't create this name. I translated it from ancient medicine, and the pivot is the specific relationship between your liver and spleen. Why these two organs? Because it's the liver and spleen, when you have a chronic digestive problem, anything that's giving rise to anything from acid reflux to IBS, hiatal hernia, everything in between, right? If you have a chronic digestive illness, no matter what the manifestation is, whether it's, again, hiatal hernia, diverticulitis, ulcerative colitis, Crohn's disease, IBS, doesn't matter what it is. If you have a chronic digestive imbalance, what you have is an imbalance between liver and spleen plus whatever else is going on. But we know that the root of these conditions is the imbalance between the liver and spleen. Why? How do we know that? Why is it called a pivot? What does that mean, pivot? Well, it's very simple. If your pivot is working, if the liver and spleen are harmonized and working together like a team, like they should do, it's very hard for you to develop a chronic condition, right? People don't develop chronic imbalances unless these organs go out of balance. It's almost like the sine qua non. By definition, if you have a chronic condition, this is partly what is to blame. And if you fix this, everything else will tend to fix itself. And it's actually easy. It's actually very simple to get the liver and spleen to work together again. The biggest disadvantage you have is that nobody teaches you this. Your doctor doesn't know about it, and you're likely to dismiss it. Like, this guy, I'm not sure if I believe this guy. But look, I've taught this method now. I've shared this with over 300,000 people in the last several years. You can read what some of them have to say on various pages that I've posted. I'll put some testimonials below this video. But it's very important to understand, like, getting the liver and spleen to work together, or the reason that they go out of balance is because, and the reason it's called the pivot in ancient medical literature and ancient medical logic, is that the liver is going out of balance in one direction and the spleen is going out of balance in the other direction. Now, I've already covered this, but let me just make this point clear because it's very important to understand. There's, in ancient medicine, remember, they didn't have microscopes, they didn't have MRIs, they didn't have like all the different high-tech instrumentation where we're focused on, molecular, cellular level kind of thinking. That's a brilliant medical system, but it's not good for chronic conditions because it's too narrowly focused. Like, here's doctors looking through, their little electron microscopes, and they're looking at cellular level evidence, et cetera, et cetera. But it's like, if you have a chronic condition, you have multiple things going on. You need to see multiple different pieces in relationship to each other to understand the whole picture. This is the essence of holism. Ancient medicine is holistic medicine because they didn't have this reductionist high-tech instrumentation and high technology that allows us to look at the molecular level of illness. Again, two totally different medical systems. And if you grasp nothing else from this free training video, you need to understand that modern medicine was designed for emergencies. It is an emergency medical system. It was never designed to treat chronic illness. It was never intended to treat chronic digestive illness. Ancient medical systems have huge advantages because they inherently focus on how this relates to this, how this affects that, how this one over here is causing this over here, and what to do about all of it to bring it back into harmony so it starts working together again as a whole. So in ancient medical thinking, the liver goes out of balance by hyperactivating. You get hyperactivity in the liver. It is burning hot, out of control. There's only two main imbalances that your organs can manifest, right? They can work too hard, like your liver, or they can work too slow and too little and become lethargic and what's called hypofunctional, right? A hypofunction is what you get when the spleen is exhausted and overworked. It simply cannot keep up. And so more heat in the liver causes the spleen to go out of balance. I said they work together as a unit, but they go out of balance as a unit as well. So when your liver's heating up and you're running and gunning, and let's have another cup of coffee, right? And then let's stay up late and drink alcohol, and let's get up early and push hard, and let's live a normal modern Western kind of lifestyle, which we're all accustomed to and don't think anything about. Well, your liver gets hotter and hotter as you age as well. Right? The aging process itself is very stressful. So as people develop this liver heat problem with some of the symptoms that I mentioned, which are very common, right? It's like the water in the fishbowl for modern people to live with a lot of excess heat coming from the liver. You develop this problem where the liver is getting hotter and the spleen is getting weaker. And the spleen is getting weaker because of aging as well. The spleen is typically past its prime by about age 35. This partly relates to why athletes have to retire around age 35. Your body can no longer keep up the same kind of level of physical performance that it used to keep up. And most of that is due to the spleen not being able to do what it used to be able to do when you were 18, 19, 20 years old. Okay, so the more heat you get, the weaker the spleen gets. Okay, so this unit has to be treated as a unit. You cannot treat just the liver and you cannot treat just the spleen. You must treat them both together. And so I developed a little method I call the pivot protocol that teaches you how to rebalance your liver and stomach on the one side and your spleen and intestines on the other side to make these organs work together again. When they work together, you assimilate food better, you eliminate waste better, food stagnation no longer builds up inside your intestines. You can get dampness out of your system. The liver is no longer running hot, and so you're no longer demanding so much food. The spleen is no longer so weak and exhausted because there are ways to rest it and allow it to recuperate, as I teach you inside the program. And so your organs come back into balance on their own. Now, this may sound unbelievable to you, but this is something that, again, no modern Western kind of modern medical person is going to tell you anything about because they just don't know it. It's not taught in medical school. No medical school training program that any doctor has ever been to, right, in modern medicine, in any hospital or clinic you've ever been to, teaches this ancient medical method that I discovered. I learned this over 20 plus years ago. I was in the highlands in Central America, and I met a curandero, a medicine man, if you will. In their culture, curandero is like an old natural healer, like old time sort of here's how you heal your body on its own. It's bone setting and like natural healing techniques, like all kinds of different things for internal medical conditions. He was a brilliant healer. He was also a real character and a great guide, but he was a great teacher. He was a fabulous teacher, and he gave me my start in medicine. And then also because I was very sick while I was living in the tropics, I really naturally gravitated toward how to heal digestive conditions. That became my special focus. And then I went on to have a career in medicine spanning over 17 years, really, by the time I got out of medicine and walked away. And as you can see, I never really walked away. I just took what I understood and what I was trying to put into hospitals. And I was lucky enough to lecture at a lot of big time medical institutions, including the world famous Cleveland Clinic, who paid me to come teach their psychiatry department what I'm telling you now. And so I took all of my learning, and instead of trying to change the medical system from within, because that's not going to happen. I hate to tell you, my friends, the medical system is rigged very much against people with chronic conditions. I just realized the best way I could help people was to go online and teach this stuff directly to the people who need it most. So if you have a chronic problem like hiatal hernia, the way you get rid of this is to get your organs working together again. Your hernia will heal on its own. You don't need to do anything special. Just get your organs working the way they're already designed to work. And I know this sounds unbelievable, but the truth is, when you get treated with a pill, when you get treatment from a doctor, a modern doctor, for something that you have, well, they're targeting in on your symptoms and they're trying to make your symptoms go away, right? Usually by blocking it with some kind of medical intervention, some kind of pharmaceutical intervention, some kind of biochemical interruption of your body's systems, right? Think of pain pills, for example. Acid reflux would be the other big example, right? You block stomach acid, which is a very bad idea, right? If you want to heal the digestive system and get the organs working together again. But they're focused in on one aspect of your problem, and you may even get some relief. I mean, pain pills work, right? Obviously, I mean, it stops the pain, but it doesn't stop the cause of the pain in most cases. And so it's hard for me to explain to somebody who hasn't experienced it, but when you experience real healing because your organs all start working together again, it is another level of recovery. And this has happened to me, and it's happened to many people that I've taught this method to. You actually can feel younger next year. You actually can experience a recovery where you go, oh my God, not only is my hiatal hernia gone, not only is my reflux gone, not only are some of my digestive symptoms just gone, like poof, vanished, but everything works better. Everything starts to feel better. Everything starts to come back together. And instead of aging where everything just goes to hell all of a sudden, your entire system starts running the way it was designed to run. At age 51, I actually feel better. And people tell me also I look better than I felt and looked over 20 years ago when I was at the height of my illness in the tropics. And so I know this by experience, this can happen. It's something that I love sharing with people, because once you experience for the very first time what it is when your organs actually start working together the way they were designed, then you know that the single best thing that you have going for you in a chronic illness of any kind of chronic illness, I don't care what it is, even if it's a congenital problem that you were born with, is your body's self-healing system. The pivot protocol teaches you how to get this self-healing system working so that your body is healing on its own. There's really nothing like it. There's nothing to compare to it in modern medicine, where the idea is to block symptoms with, pills and masking kind of problems, or wait until it's bad enough and then come see us and we'll cut you open and take it out kind of thing. It's like, is that really good medicine? Wouldn't a better approach be to get your body to heal on its own? Wouldn't it be better for you if your body healed on its own without having to take pills or go under the knife? Of course it would. And so I encourage you, if you want my help, if you want to find out more about how to heal your hiatal hernia without taking the dangerous step of getting your abdomen cut open, which is very risky. It's not that surgery for hiatal hernia can't be successful. It can, but it's risky. It's not that you can't get something done to fix your hiatal hernia from a surgeon, but what if something goes wrong, right? What if there's a complication? Even just going under anesthesia after a certain age is very, very hard on your body. It's very dangerous, right, to be doing such things. What if you get a hospital infection, right? What if, all the various things that could go wrong? You have to play that what if scenario before you do something radical like surgery. Like, wouldn't it be better if you could just cure that on your own? That's what I'm teaching you inside the pivot protocol. It's very simple. Anyone can do it. I've taught this at about a 7th grade level. I show you a lot of the myths that people think are true in our fad diet world, right? Where the newest fad diet comes out every couple of months, and then everybody runs over to that, and somehow that's supposed to cure everybody. The problem with fad diets, basically, the basic problem is there is no diet that will cure everybody. Of course not. You have to eat according to your symptoms. And once you know how to recognize the symptoms for the 4 organs that I just told you about, the liver, stomach, spleen, and intestines, and you know which symptoms pertain to which organs, and you know how to get rid of dampness and rest your weak spleen and get heat out of your liver and cool off a hot stomach. Once you know how to do these things, and then the organs start to work together again, what you find is that actually there's nothing difficult about getting well and keeping yourself well. You just need to understand your symptoms at a whole different level than anybody else has taught you before. I show you about food combinations. I teach you about what supplements, right? Most supplements are complete crap. There's 3 or 4 that you should know about. I don't sell them, so I don't make any money off of this, but I give you information like, here's what to look for. If you have complications in your digestive tract, like a lot of people do, like fungal infections, candida albicans, yeast infections, things like this. What do you do about that? Do you want to take an antibiotic for that? Because that's what your doctor's going to give you. Do you know what to do to get rid of that stuff? I show you exactly how to deal with all of this. And there's a ton of other good material in there that even goes way beyond diet, right? Some very specific targeted exercises and non-diet kind of things that can help you heal hiatal hernia faster than anything and better than anything in the modern medical system. So I hope you'll give it a shot. If you click below, you can get started on the pivot protocol. And also, if you want my personal help in healing your hiatal hernia, I put together a group coaching option. Now, most of my group coaching students quit, but they're quitting for all the best reasons, which is they don't need me anymore. So the fastest way to learn the pivot protocol is to get started on the material and then let me help you by coaching you through it and teaching you how to apply what you're learning quickly, so that you're not spending days and days trying to figure out, okay, should I go this direction or this direction? No, let's get really clear on exactly what's happening, what your symptoms are telling you. Your symptoms are a code, right, that your body is sending, and you have to decode what that message is, and then you understand what's going on with your organs, and then we can design food combinations and meals around your specific symptoms so that your organs work together, so that your hiatal hernia or your acid reflux or your IBS goes away on its own. Okay, I hope all that makes sense. I hope you get started on the pivot protocol. I even offer a full 30-day money back guarantee if you decide you wasted your time or putting your trust in me, or you think, or you just don't like my manner of speaking, right? That would be fine as well. You can ask for a full refund for the phase 1 material in the that you can get below by clicking below. You have full 30 days to check it out, kick the tires, and get started, right? And see how much difference this makes in your own way of thinking about digestive health, but also see how quickly your body can heal on its own. This marvelous mechanism that is built into your body, that is built into your organs, that's built into your system, this self-healing reflex that's built into your body that every healthy person has, even if you've been sick for a long time, that you can activate this self-healing response and get your body to heal on its own. I hope you take advantage of it. I'm always super happy to share this with people. So get started on the pivot protocol. If you want my help, you can join group coaching as well and find out about my other material to teach you how to beat chronic illness. I have a new program coming out. Make sure to stick around for that as well. Get started on the pivot protocol by clicking below. Thanks very much, and I'll hope to see you inside the members area.